Hi there, Glocal citizens. Welcome back to the podcast that inspires a borderless mindset around manifesting a new world. I am your host, Florence Adu, coming to you from the US of A. Yes, I'm still in the US and I'm in Brooklyn, and my guest is not far, a little bit south of the city, and she's here to share some really interesting, exciting information about an upcoming program and just the idea of sustainability in new ways, particularly for Black communities, which, given that we're in these new times, we have the first Black woman who has the opportunity to be the leader of a country that was founded on the backs of Black people. You know, we had it with our President Obama, and let's see how we fare with a woman in that role, because I have long felt like the world will change when women are our leaders. Many might disagree, but there's just something about the way a woman leads that is different than that of a man, and that is different than what we have seen and expect, and something that I think is just more powerful for the people. But let me get off my soapbox and big up another woman. She is a serial entrepreneur and diversity activist. She is founder and president of Green Dandelion Marketing and Sales, which grew out of a desire to introduce retailers to innovative plant-based products. Since its founding 13 years ago, Green Dandelion has helped their clients launch almost 2,000 products in grocery and health stores in the Mid-Atlantic United States. Clients include manufacturers of biodynamic, organic, non-GMO, vegan, and fair trade products, helping to solidify their commitment to leaving a positive impact on the planet and all lives, which she further nurtures as co-owner of Plant and People, a Black women's owned boutique offering houseplants, supplies, plant wellness products, services, and gifts. A certified social impact strategist, she applies these skills as the Director of Social Impact for the Diasporic Alliance for Cannabis Opportunities, DACO, a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising awareness about educational, wellness, and economic opportunities in the cannabis industry, and particularly through the Black Cannabis Week initiative, which takes place in September. Cherron Perry-Thomas, welcome to the podcast.
Yes, and thank you so much, and thank you for creating this wonderful space.
So let's get started. Let's just jump right in. Where are you from? Where are you local? And what is your craft?
Yeah, so where I am from is a bustling town called Memphis, Tennessee, which is located in the southern region of the United States. And so Memphis is well known for many things, including its famous barbecue, birthplace of jazz, rock and roll, all those great things. A lot of people know Memphis as the place of two kings, one where a king entertained and one where a king passed. So that is where I'm from, is Memphis. I am in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is another town that has a lot of well-known celebrities, food, music, you name it. So, and also in a location that's very central to travel. So I know you said you're in New York. I'm very close to New York. I'm very close to each state holder. So it's a great place to be and live and get around in. And my last statement, or your last question, my craft is that I make things planty. And so so basically what that means is just bringing nature, bringing the holistic approach to living into spaces where it's needed. And that's like every space. And so just really getting people to understand the importance of plants in our lives, in our existence, from day to day to minute to second to second. So understanding that plants, we can't live without plants. And what does that look like for many people? For some people, it may be growing vegetables. For other people, it may just be having an ornamental plant in their home. Somebody else, it may be a plant for healing. So just really trying to bridge that gap to reconnect people back to the earth, back to plants so that we can be one.
I love it. So, growing up in Memphis, it's a city, but it is in the South. So, I often think about people in the South being much closer to the land. And so, tell us about how. I mean, it's important to many, but how did you find your craft as being about making things planty? Like, did it start way back when, or when did you start to move into that self?
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of funny because sometimes when you're younger, you take things for granted, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
everybody, an adult, I realized that every house that we went to, at every home, people had they had a little plot of land. They grew things. They had gardens. If that was either a like elephant ears, even if they were just growing vegetables. I remember how abundant it was. And my grandmother could sit on the porch and people could bring her tomatoes and greens and purple whole peas. And that would just happen during the course of the day. Like, hey, Sadie, here you go, here you go. And I just think that being able to do that also allow people to communicate more and to share more because, when you're growing things, sometimes you have more than enough. And so I say that to say that, again, I took that for granted. I didn't think much of it. As a matter of fact, as I became a teenager, I really hated, that way of life. I really thought it was country. I thought it was like backwater. My dad would
Mm-hmm.
come home, take off his, shirt and just go out in the backyard and just be into his garden until I eat. Like I said, I didn't want to have anything to do with that at all. And it wasn't until I became an adult and had children of my own that I realized how important that connection was with the soil, with the earth, which now we know through plant therapy, like there's a real connection. There's a healing connection with touching the soil.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I value that now. I value being able to touch the soil. I don't wear gloves, when I'm outside or when I'm working with the soil and the plants. I want to touch it. I want to feel it because it's that connection to the earth. That connection to the earth is connection to all of us. It's just that one living organism, which is what we all are. We shouldn't have all these divisions like, that's over there, that's over here. But no, we should really look at it as, again, all being one, because what we do to the earth, we do to ourselves. And so we have to start raising this next generation. And I am really so happy that so many young people are aware of environmental injustices, which pretty much target our communities a far lot worse than in others. And that's just like globally. That's just globally. And so you do have young people who are stepping up and who are saying that this pollution is wrong. I can't breathe. My mom has cancer. My dad can't stop coughing and looking at what's close to them that's causing this. And they're realizing that the pollution and the toxins in our environment a lot to do with the illnesses that we are really close to. So, but yeah, so making those connections is something that's really important. And making that connection with the people and with the earth.
So this kind of, I think, is a good time to ask you about why the where, because you grew up in the South and you came into as a young adult realizing, or when you had started a family, plants matter. And so why the where? How did you come to be living, working, and playing where you are currently located in Philadelphia?
Yeah, so I actually came to Philadelphia to work for a peace organization, actually one of the world's oldest women's peace organizations. And met my husband, decided to stay a lot longer than I was expected to. And in that stay, I started realizing that a lot of the folks a lot of the elders were ill. A lot of the people around me were ill. Things that were like, to me, simple fixes through dietary changes. I felt that I needed to step up and do something. So I started teaching people how to eat. At that time, we didn't use the word plant-based eating. We used words like total vegetarian, which basically just simply meant that you did not eat. You ate every plant, every veg, everything except obviously, honey, eggs, those kind of things. But it was important for me to ensure that we all had this hands at being exposed to healthy eating. I always thought it was like really strange coming to Philadelphia that people would eat out. Like people would eat out and not only just out a lot, but they also ate on trucks. That was the thing for me to understand. Like, do people not have kitchen
Kitchens.
homes?
Right.
Yeah, like, do they not have chicken? Like they eat everywhere else but at home. And which again, that's just something that's traditional in my family is that we really ate at home. We would pick the greens, we would cook the greens, we would like that was food. And so to see the availability or the lack of availability of healthy food choices, again, just wanting to share with people how to really have alternatives to some of the things that they were eating that were making them sick. And that's actually how I got started. I would do huge free events like the Great American Meat Out. And we would just have like a huge area and tables of free food for people to try because I realized too that a lot of people are just simply were not used to eating plant. Just, I was always a plant eater. Then I would meat, for instance. And so even as a child, I would have more veggies on my plate than I would meat, for instance. And so again, just being able to share that with folks. And so out of educating people individually with the different classes that we had. So like I said, vegetarian classes, events, and moved into raw food classes, which is just like preparing food without heat. And we did that for a long time. Actually had a contract with Whole Foods for about 5 years straight, where that is what we taught people. And even today, I still have people asking me for recipes or remembering the time that we did these classes. But I also realized too that this was like such a small segment of the population that I was touching. And so I wanted to have more of an outreach. And remember, this is pre-social media. Okay. As a matter of fact, did we have internet? Yeah, we did have internet. We had email, but we didn't have like the World Wide Web to search and things like that. So this is like pre that. And so what I decided to do was start a brokerage. And so my brokerage started it's probably about it's actually close to 20 years now.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, I know
20. Okay.
your introduction to 13, but it's almost 20 years now to the date. And so and what I did is that I represented many brands, and most of the brands that I represented at that time were just simply raw food brands, and introducing the marketplace to simple things that are simple now, like agave. Agave wasn't in the market then. Things like cacao or raw chocolate, it wasn't widely known, nor were they health benefits. Now, again, these are products that are indigenous to other cultures and countries. But even with that, the people in those areas don't take advantage of it. I just recently read where Ghana is now starting to market its own chocolate instead of sending out the raw materials, which is something that's really important that we do have to keep. You have to keep your raw products and create products for other people, right? And so for years, Ghana has been doing that, and that has not reaped the benefit. So you can take, I don't know, a nugget of cacao and sell it to a country for 5 cents, and they turn that 5 cents into a $10 wholesale, and you end up paying retail $20 for a bar that you only use 5 cent worth of product. Like, how are you going to make money? You can't make money as part of the supply chain. Which I do also want to say, when it comes to chocolate, if it's not fair trade, don't buy it. If you don't know where it's coming from, don't buy it. Because when you think about, and most people don't think about where products are coming from, which is why we're here. We do a lot of that work. But a lot of folks don't realize that slavery is still in effect, that there are still people who are being forced to work in places that they would rather be in school. They would rather be doing other things. But these corporations are forcing them to work in these cacao, to work in, even in cotton. They're still being forced to do this laborious work when the end product is something that they don't even see. So I'm really glad now that Ghana is looking at cacao production, not just as a part of the supply chain, but being the actual full product and production developer of it. So if you want cacao, Amsterdam, like, you need to come to Ghana. Like, we're not shipping to you anymore. So hopefully that will happen. I doubt it, but people really have to start thinking more about the supply chain and where products are coming from. And so that was, again, being able to now reach more people with healthy products, reaching more people with products that have been vetted, with companies that have been vetted and that have the best interest of the supply chain in mind. That is, I can't say that enough, to know where your products are coming from, know where your food is being grown, because it's a difference between having a tomato in the store and having a tomato that you grew out of your backyard or that a farmer grew. At least you can put that name to, the face to the product. And a lot of times it makes that product a lot more sweeter to eat.
That part. Yeah, it really does. I mean, farmers markets are like the best places because you really do get to see the farmer, see the work, and recognize, sure, there's a premium, but that's a premium that's going to a community that will benefit from it, not a big corporation that is potentially exploiting workers and other individuals. So, yeah. So Green Dandelion was born, and you've supplied and educated many, many, many folks. And then you decided that brick and mortar needed to be part of your story. And so Plant and People is a family affair. So tell us more about that, because I feel like I was looking at your website and I saw the wicker chair and the black leather jackets and berets. And so tell us more about Plant and People.
Yeah, so it's a family owned. It's my daughter and I. And yeah, it was born, and it was really birthed again out of another need. We started in 2020. It was the year of George Floyd. It also was the year, just besides the pandemic and everything, but it was also the year of a murder that happened here in Philadelphia of a young man named Walter Wallace. His mom called 911 for help, and the police ended up shooting him in front of his mother and other neighbors that day. And so there was an uprising, very much so. And there was an uprising in that neighborhood, in that area of West Philadelphia. And we're in West Philadelphia, which is why we intentionally moved to West Philadelphia. Because one of the things that we felt as people were struggling, we all were struggling with the pandemic, because you couldn't, be a social, you couldn't get the things that we were used to getting. And it was, things were on a pause, but we were gardening. Like, every day. Like, even though you couldn't go to the store, even though you couldn't go to these social places, we were going to the garden. We were gardening every day. We were going to plant care centers, shops, nurseries, because those were essential businesses as well. Those were essential businesses. And so we felt that it was really helping us to navigate these traumatic situations that we were going through. And so we wanted to share that with the community. And so out of that, we birthed Plant and People as a way to, again, support community and their wellness needs. So going back to the start of pre-green dandelion, like the wellness need at that time was to teach more people about plant-based eating. And this time it was not only plant-based eating, but also caring for plants, having plants in your environment and what that means and what that feels like. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of environmental injustice. There's a lot of pollution. And we also know that plants are very instrumental in cleaning the air. And I mentioned earlier, just being in Memphis, everybody had plants in their home. I moved up north and it's like nobody has a plant in their home. The odd thing is that they had cats and dogs, which we did not have in the home.
Right.
So I was like, they have cats and dogs, but no plants.
Interesting.
Like I said, in hindsight, thinking about these things, it was just kind of like, topsy-turvy. It's upside down. It should have been the other way.
Sure.
The cats and dogs should have been outside and the plants should have been in the house, but they're not. So again, just helping people to make these connections, because for a lot of people, it's still there, right? It's still there. Even if you don't have a plant in your home, somewhere in your DNA, that ability to care for a plant, to reconnect, it's there. It's just been hidden. So again, just helping people with the tools that they need to just deal with some of the everyday trauma, drama that we have in our lives. And so, yes, Plant and People is a resource to the community. And not only are we a retailer, we do events. We have a lot of events where people can and learn more about plants and community with other plant people. We always have a free part outside where, those folks who want to care for a plant even more, we call that the little hospital out there, but there are people who just want to care and just like their first time taking care of something, because we're in a non-commercial district. So people are not walking up and down the street expecting to see a plant shop. And I know that one of the leaders in the Black Panther Party, Chairman Fred Hampton, said, if you don't have businesses in your community that, really are fulfilling your needs, that are there for you, then you should not support them. Like, why are they there? So we want to be that support for the community. So right now we have a series that we're partnering with called My Tie. And the tie stands for Trauma Informed Environment. We have a licensed therapist every week. And every week we're giving people tools to learn how to deal with the trauma that's in their environment. And sometimes when you're, sort of like already there, you're already practicing things, you take it for granted that everybody else is. And they're not. There are people who, who just simply do not know. And so this has been an opportunity for us to share some of those skills. So we've had a breathing practitioner. We have worked with plants and breaking down the different traumas and environments just through the plant care. Last week, we actually had something called Stop the Bleed certification, which is what to do if you are faced with a situation where there is body trauma from a
Mm.
gunshot or from a stabbing.
So like some first
Yeah,
aid CPR.
yeah, some serious stuff because for some folks, it's happening. Two people in that workshop last week had to sit out for a second because things were coming up that they have faced this week, which is our last week. And we were intentional about doing this in August because this is Black August. We're coming on the end of Black August. And so, Black August, of course, has been one of those ways that many of us have recentered. So we thought about those people who have been locked up and who have been incarcerated, those freedom fighters, those political prisoners. Black August is that time for us to think about what Black liberation looks like and what it is. And so for us, Black liberation looks like us being able to come together. It looks like us being able to support one another. That Black liberation looks like us being able to navigate the space instead of the space navigating us. So I tell people it's kind of like that matrix. Everything could be flying all around you, but you're centered. You're right here as it's going because everything that's happening is it's going to continue to happen. But how we navigate these experiences and these environments so that we can get to the next step, so that we can get to the next level. So, this is coming to the end of the Black August, but it's not the end of the mindset and the thought. And again, for us being able to have this Mai Tai series has really been it's been great because it shows that one, the need is high. The need is really high and people look like they are functioning as regular people. But when you start getting into the conversation, it gets really deep. We had one young lady who had two relatives that were murdered just last month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in one setting. And both of the relatives succumbed, one on the spot, another one at the hospital, and another one was wounded but survived. So how do you function like that as a human being and continue to walk around like everything's normal? So I just say that we definitely need to have grace for one another because we just really don't know what people are dealing with. And it's a lot. But tonight is our final in this 5-week series. And tonight, I'm looking forward to it. It's a young man called Seven God, and it's going to be inspirational because he is going to do tonight's tool is affirmations.
Okay.
So tonight's tool is affirmations. So really giving the people tool of affirmation, how to write them, how to speak them into existence. And he will be doing a performance as well as a workshop on how to actually do this. So tonight it's kind of like celebratory. It's still the truths are still in there. And it's really going to be fun tonight. And these have been free. They've been free to the community. And it's funny, I like to say things are free, but they're not free, to us, but we do see the need in it.
Sure.
And so we just hope that we have the support and we have the strength and the power to continue to do things like that. Because I do understand too, a lot of people who do a lot of this kind of work continuously, there's a lot of burnout.
Right.
There's a lot of burnout, and I'm not in neither one of us, my daughter nor I are in social work, but we do talk to a lot of social workers and you hear again, because of that need is so high, there's a lot of burnout. So as much as we can do to fill in the gap, to help support folks in giving them these tools, it's just really something that's important to us. It fulfills our mission and helping our community to reach some of the wellness goals that they want. Because, at the end of the day, everybody wants to walk. I mean, you talk to the hardest criminal, everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants to be loved and to give love. It's just as simple as that. And once we can get to that understanding and that point, this world will be a whole lot better.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So you brought up something very interesting in terms of, being able to provide this as a free service to your community. And so thinking about the business of building Plant and People, and also, you kind of spoke a little bit about it with Green Dandelion. How have you operated? How do you figure out what kind of business model will work for you to be that community-based organization? Because you're not a not-for-profit per se. So what are some of the challenges and some of the strategies that you have developed in order to stay profitable and build that business as a viable economic entity for yourselves?
Yeah, that's important because it's a business as well as a nonprofit. One of the things that you have to think about is how are you going to make money, right? Because the lights still have to stay on. You still need toilet paper. You still need all these basic things. So we've been in business now going on 4 months, and the retail has been supported with one online. We ship internationally as well as nationally. And so that's about 25% of the business. And then we have people who come in to the retail space, and that's probably about another 40% of the business. The rest of the business is from our classes and workshops, as well as our commercial side. So the commercial side is what we are looking to build out more in 2025, because the commercial side is that business to business side. So we've been able to garner contracts from major institutions just right now by word of mouth, right? So we want to get more into that because as a Black woman owned company, we have 2 certifications that are available, one which is the minority and the other one which is women. Those certifications can open us up to city, to state, as well as to the federal government contracts. And the difference between all of those contracts is kind of like a hierarchy. The federal pays the most, and
Sure. Yeah.
but and sometimes also is a lot more difficult. But once you get there, you're there. We also are in a city that has several education institutions who have their own certification steps and processes. So we have Penn. We're right next to Penn. We're right next to Drexel, and we also have Temple, where we just did a plant installation. And so what we do for the institutions are things like rentals, things like installing plants and consulting. And on the rental side, we also not only do that for commercial and institutions, but we also do that for individuals as well as for events. So a lot of folks are realizing that, like some places, you can't even take balloons in right now. So what else are you going to do to decorate? Yeah, some places, because of the environmental detriment that balloons cause to animals as well as to the environment, yeah, you can't have those in some locations. So one of the alternatives is to decorate with plants, and that's what we do. So one of our clients has been an event called the Roots Picnic, which is it's a musical event here in Philadelphia. And we have to transform this outdoor space into a tropical oasis. And
Nice.
And so on that level, that's one of the things that we do. So that side is the side that, like I said, in terms of our growth plan, we're looking to build that out more in 2025. And in our new location, which we're expanding to at the end of the year, we are looking at extending into a cafe as well as into a rental piece. So
like
when
an event,
people
like a space
are looking
rental.
for a place to go, an event location. So people looking for meetings, they're looking to have, parties, events, and want to be surrounded by beautiful plants, they can come to Plant and People.
Nice. I love that. That's great. That's great. So I want to take a step into the next level of plant. But before that, maybe you can prime us a little.
Keep it planty.
Yes, exactly. Maybe you can
Mhm.
take us into lead us into that area with your Glocal speak. So this is where I ask you to share a word, a phrase, or a saying that is a meaningful part of your local experience and why or how you come to value it as Glocal speak.
I just said it. It's plenty. And why I think it's global speak is because no matter where you are in the world, and especially throughout the diaspora, there are certain plants. If they're plants that we eat, or if they're plants that are being grown, it's something that's common, and it's something that connects us. I've met and encountered people who are from other countries, and because we have plants, I remember one time this young man, he was from Haiti, and we had, I don't even remember what it was, but he was almost in tears because whatever it was something that was native to his homeland, something that he had not seen here. And he just started talking about all the ways that they used it. I mean, I think I did get it on tape or something, but he was just so excited. And I love those moments because it just shows our connections. We were only divided by water. Right? Many people in water, divided us, but we're connected. And so plants are definitely one of those things that really exemplifies that. So I like to say I do all things planty. And I think that my local speak word is definitely planty because that's what it's about. It's about that. And again, it's about making that connection. And like I said, no matter if you speak the language or not, I remember one of the first times I went to Ghana, and my auntie had a bush outside, and I went closer to the bush and realized that the bush was actually orchid. And I could not believe it because I've never seen that many orchids, first of all. Second of all, the cost of something like that in the United States,
Right.
it would have
Right.
been like 1,000,
Yeah.
thousands of dollars to have something like that. And it was, yes, her whole hedge, which probably was maybe about, I don't know, it was about 12 feet long. It was orchid. And
Wow.
so, and they just couldn't believe that. I was so excited that
Wow.
I was so excited about seeing these plants grow. But because I'm here in the United States and they're there, they just take it for granted. Like, it's just something growing over there. You can't even eat that stuff. That's what one of the helpers said. You can't even eat that stuff.
Right. That's a huge part. Like I have a garden in Ghana and I live flowers. So it has a lot of flowers. But my cousins is like, you got to plant something you can eat. And of course, I get that. But yes, there's the beauty and then there's the function. Thanks for joining us for part 1 of my conversation with Charron Perry Thomas. Be sure to come back next week where Charron will take us into the who, what, where, when, and why of Black Cannabis Week and more of her planty journey as an activist and advocate for cannabis policy, not only in the U.S., but across the African diaspora. As always, you can catch us with new episodes at glocalcitizenspod.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Please like, share, subscribe, leave us a review. And check out the show notes. We got plenty of good background information and intelligence on the cannabis sector, as well as a lot of the topics that Charron spoke about in the episode. Until next week, bye for now.